Hey, what's up, guys? Power 3 Retro React. Is Steven here? Please get it.
It's Derek here. Why did my face look like a meme for a second?
Hey, what's up, guys? Power 3 Retro React. I don't know. PewDiePie. Oh my god. Well, anyways, we're reading Jeff the Killer.
We actually read Jeff the Killer before. Not on this channel, but on our main channel. The original Jeff the Killer. We even made a skit out of it, too.
Yeah. You guys want to check it out? So we put it down in the description.
It was basically it was supposed to be even just for a school project, but people liked it, so kept it up. We haven't read the reboot. I didn't know there was a reboot until recently. So let's find out and get right into this. I'm excited.
Let's get it.
Let's get started with Jeff the Killer. Before we continue the video, did you know a lot of people who watch our videos aren't subscribed? So if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, and let's get right back into the video. The day Jeffrey Woods and his family arrived at their new home, the sky was overcast and the weather was muggy. The gray skies seemed to punctuate his mood. Jeff was not thrilled to be here. Their new home was beautiful though, a true example of his father's newfound success. But it wasn't a home he'd known. Week after they settled in, Jeff and Lou woke up early. The sky was a crisp and gorgeous blue, and although the Louisiana heat was playing its usual cruel tricks, the brothers decided that a morning bike ride to explore the area would be just the right ticket to combat the slight pangs of homesickness that they've both been experiencing over the last week. "I miss home," Lou blurted out, as Jeff was smearing salsa on the microwave burrito that was served as his breakfast.
Me too, Lou, but I guess this is home now. We just sort of have to make most of it. I know but all of our friends' stuff are back in New Orleans. Remember that building we always speak up on top? And once the CD come on, DM Video, the owner, knew us will always let us rent R-rated movie while our parent. He always hook up to us for a free video game rental if we got a free movie. Yeah, I miss that too, but Lou, we have to.
Lou interrupted. "I know, we have to make the most of this. But still, the place just seems so fake. And Mom and Dad still treat us like we weren't even here."
Yep, they do. I was sort of hoping this new house will improve their mood. But what can we do?
Lou had no answer. Jeff finished breakfast, and the two boys left the house to mount their bikes and explore around a bit more. As it turns out, the subdivision they moved into was rather close to a cluster of stores and a small shopping center. Village Shopping Center was the name of the short row of businesses. Within these was a Pizza Hut, a Chinese restaurant, a tobacco store, a Sprint store, and what Jeff and Lou was most excited about, a video store. "We'll have to get Mom or Dad to come down here and open an account so we can rent movies," Lou mentioned to Jeff, flipped the box over and read a description of a horror movie.
Gee, you are right. Jeff snapped, feeling a bit frustrated at this thought. He knew that getting his parents to actually come down and set out a measure would take forever. Since their unusual after work routine to go off in a separate room until they got hungry enough to come out and speak. Jeff glanced over at the girl working behind the counter. "Maybe I can go over there and sweet talk her in the men's count," he joked.
"Doubt you. The guys who's kissed two girls and almost such a boob. Never. Please go over and lay a little jar."
Whenever I could totally paint that girl, but her parents came home, and last time told me the story yesterday, her parents went out, sister came home. It became flustered while in the process trying to make yet another comeback. The girl behind the register room were all doubled, speaking to the point, so.
"Hey, aren't those your mics?" the young woman asked, pointing towards the glass window. Jeff and Lou looked over to see three boys outside. Two of them were riding around in circles on the wood brother's bike. They would spin them around and then jump off, letting the bikes crash onto the pavement, just to stand them up and ride them again. The two boys riding the bikes were both slim in build, while the heavier boys stood on the sidewalk drinking a Red Bull watching. Jeff and his brother made their way towards the door of the video store when the fat kid saw them coming. Jeff couldn't hear what he said to his two friends, but he made some sort of gesture while shouting, and the other two boys dumped the bikes where they lay and walked towards the sidewalk directly towards the two brothers. "Those your bikes?" one of the boys asked as Jeff and Lou entered the summer heat. "Yeah, why are you riding them?" Lou asked sharply. "We just saw them there, man. Relax. Figured someone just let them out for us," the same boy responded as the two friends joined him on the other side. Jeff, determined to make a good start here, tried to change the course of the confrontation.
Well, they are ours. We just moved here about a week ago. We live on Fairmount Avenue, a few blocks from here. We're just checking out the neighborhood, Jeff hoped that civil zone would turn things around, but you could tell by the insolent look on the kid that it was a difficult gamble. "Good for you, you moved somewhere," the fat kid remarked. "Oh yeah, Troy," the first boy spoke. "He moved in that piece of sheet house with the gravel driveway and water moved into that place." "Well, Randy, now we know," the big kid, apparently named Troy, replied. Jeff still trying to salvage the conversation, trying peaceful banter one more time. "Okay, so you're Troy and you're Randy." "Well, I'm Jeff. This is my brother Lou. We just moved here from New Orleans." "You ain't in New Orleans now," the third boy, who just now decided to speak, remarked. "Yeah, and who the fork said you could call by your name?" Randy said, the isolated, privileged smile never leaving his face. Jeff smiled and responded to Randy. "Well, I guess I could call you a forking beat hole. Guess we can give you a friggin' down the head now."
In a moment of flare of rage, replaced the smirk that rested on Randy's face throughout the entire exchange. The other two boys, Troy and still another member of his band, I think it's Keith, I think that's the name, seemed to momentarily struck silent. Perhaps they weren't used to being stood up to. "Oh, I'm sorry. Was that language too adult for you?" Jeff asked. "And you, quiet boy. We know that this isn't New Orleans." Jeff stated to the slim kid that reminded him of his geographical locations. "Because if this was New Orleans, you three would already have gotten your peeps kicked for touching someone else's sheet." Slim Kid looked back and forth at two friends. However, Randy, clearly the leader, seemed to know what to say. "Keith, you're gonna let this little... God, so many cursing. You're gonna let this little peep talk to you like that?" Jeff knew this part, and while he wanted to quite badly to sock Randy and his pals around, a real concern invaded his mind. If he and Lou got into a fight the first week in this new neighborhood, his parents would freak. You could practically hear it now, and while things had been far from perfect in their home, even after the move, there was a peace that had fallen over the family, and Jeff, fighting his urges, decided to do his best to keep up. Jeff looked over at the three, very well dressed, very privileged looking servant kids before them, and dismissed them. "You guys are boring. Come on, Lou. Let them continue their playdates without us."
Lou laughed at that and followed behind his brother behind the butt. However, Randy and the little game will be tough behind that. They moved to block Jeff and his brother once again. "You going, wussy?" Randy asked, showing Jeff. Jeff could show him had no real conviction. Randy was trying to figure him out. Seeing where his buttons were, he pushed harder eventually, but Jeff swallowed slowly building anger within once more. Lou took a bit more exception to the shove. "We're going to your mom's house. Me and my brother save a couple $dollars from doing chores. She doesn't charge much." As the word left Lou's mouth, Randy apparently only registered a small portion of it all. Randy didn't have a growing in Mediville. His father was a part of a local field that made worth money, something else that Jeff was soon become. Randy and his friend, while the same age as Jeff, had grown up in very different circumstances. They were being listed to. They were used to being fair. Fat Randy, the target of the insult, just stood there. It was eventually Troy, the fat kid, who stepped toward the fat first ball eyes squinted in anger. "Who you talking to?" Troy chatted and took a while to swing at Lou.
Lou, who was both in better shape and had sparred with Jeff a time or two during his time spent boxing, was able to avoid the punch, but just barely. Had that been all, it may have been once again ended there. Troy was clearly taken by surprise at Lou's speed, and actually did attempt another punch. However, these were bullies, kids that ran in a pack for a reason. The skinny one, Keith, stepped around and threw a punch that connected with the left side of Lou's face. Jeff had seen enough. He'd been shocked at how quickly this evolved into blows, even though he expected it from almost the start. When he first met Randy and his friends, he'd been curious. From there, he developed an annoyance with them, and slowly that annoyance had evolved into anger. However, upon Lou punched, seeing the small trickle of blood from his brother lower's lip. Upon seeing the smug look of satisfaction on Keith's face, the anger that Jeff felt suddenly exploded into a rage that had never been felt before in his life. Jeff Woods did not hesitate. He stepped forward, his feet automatically falling into the correct stance that he learned from the boxing classes his father had once enrolled him into. Delivered a power right hand to Keith's face. The skinny boy had no time to register shock or pain. The punch caught him by surprise, and his knees buckled. Keith went down to the ground in a heap of confusion and drawing fear. Randy, the so-called leader here, was almost too shocked to move. He had quite a lot of experience starting fights, but no real time logged into losing them. He never felt control of the situation slip. He was used to being in charge, so now seeing one of his friends go down so quickly and easily left him in a state of shock he had no idea how to address. Troy, on the other hand, seemed to have a plan, throw another punch. He moved towards Jeff deceptively faster than his weight would seem to allow, and threw two equally fast punches. Jeff, however, had no problem stepping both attempts. Troy, seemingly lost for actions, actually drops his arms, as if to say, gee, what do I do now? Jeff had the answer. He moved in, throwing 3 hooks to Troy's stomach. The hefty kid's eyes went as wide as pie pans. A fitting analogy. Jeff thought. He staggered back, clutching his throbbing stomach. Jeff had wasted no time, and stepped in once more, fetching a sharp punch to the big kid's jaw, causing Troy to promptly fall to his fellow's butt. Jeff has reminded of King Hippo from the Punch-Out game he used to play. He couldn't help but smile.
Jeff now turned his focus on Randy. He advanced on the boy, feeling something new forming inside of him. He still felt in the anger that ranged, and eventually the antic of these assholes. They had the nerve to mess with their body, the nerve to insult 2 kids they never met before, and of course, the ultimate offense touching his brother, however, mixed with his rage, was also sweet, enjoyable pleasure. Not only he was kicking their butt, but he was loving every second of it. With a thought of joy in showing them up was perfectly blending with the rage he felt toward them. Together, it poured into his sedative, controlled sense of power. That was until Lou stepped in front of him. Jeff, stop, that's enough. Why stop now, Lou? Why stop now, Lou? They wanted this, Jeff replied, in a flat voice that Lou had never heard come from his brother's mouth. She's calling the cop. Look, Lou shouted again, and this time, Jeff came back around long enough to listen. He glanced over the video store cart, saw her phone talking personally and pointed toward the parking lot. Suddenly, Jeff's strange, sassy eyes collapsed and he regained his former self. Let's go, he stated quickly, and he and Lou mounted a bike and rode toward the parking lot exit.
Yeah, you better forking run, Randy called behind him. Jeff and Lou paid no mind, and pedaled away. A few blocks down the street, they dismounted their bikes and began to walk them together. At first, neither brother spoke, then Lou broke the silence. Jeff, thank you for standing up to me back there. Thank you. Yeah, those guys were pieces of garbage. They had it coming. Jeff replied, looking down the street as they walked. What? What happened? I've never seen you like that before. Just defending myself, Lou. What was I supposed to do? Let them beat you up? I bet they go to our school. I bet we'll see them there, and they won't forget us. Who cares? We didn't ask to move here. We didn't ask for any of this. Mom and Dad just wanted a bigger house in a nicer neighborhood. And we were along for the ride, whether we liked it or not. I think I give a crap these rich buttholes can think of us. Jeff stated and went back to looking at his feet. Think we'll get in trouble? Lou asked. For what, defending ourselves? Yeah, I guess you're right. They did start it, Lou answered. To his brothers, the matter was closed. However, things were far from over. They found that the trouble they believed they escaped from was in fact waiting for them in their front door. Jeff and Lou saw the police cars well before they arrived in their driveway. 2 cop cars, both parked in front of their houses. Both of them felt their stomachs drop, as they knew why the police were there. The brothers entered the living rooms to see their parents sitting on the couch, the 2 cops standing up, leaning on the wall, writing in their notebooks. What did you 2 do? Sheila practically screeched as the 2 boys entered the house. Lou, younger and less centered than Jeff, began to fall on the defensive. Some kids tried to jump us down by the video store. They were messing with our bikes, and when we went outside, they got in our faces. That's not the way we heard it, Matt Woods injected, his voice ripe with anger and dissatisfaction. No, Dad, that's what happened, Jeff began to explain. We were both down at Friendly Video, looking around the store, when these 3 kids started riding around their bikes. All we did was walk outside and the kids started talking trash to us, trying to provoke a fight. When we tried to leave, one of them punched Lou.
Finally, one of these 2 cops spoke. His name was Chad Williamson. Boy, we had some serious complaint with the 2 of you. From what I witnessed at consensus said, you 2 started the confrontation with Randy and his friend. Jeff noticed his friend on the call when he said Randy's name. It was a small town. After all, there was a good chance that this called Coach Randy's little league where drank beer with his dad. Hell, it was even possible that his cop could be Uncle one of the bullies. No, sir, Jeff replied. We didn't start it. They did. We just wanted our bike. We just wanted to leave. They blocked us. Williamson continued to thought he heard nothing Jeff said. Several witnesses, including the video store clerk, say he swung first. They said the boy was riding your bike. But let me ask you, did you chain your bike to anything or did you just leave it outside the store? What's the matter? Luke demanded. Well, son, if you left your bike laying around to the street, you can't exactly blame Randy and his friend for that, can you? It'll be different had you scared them somehow. But you just can't left them in there. Mom, Dad, you're not going to buy this crap, are you? You know me and Lynn don't start to fight when we have ever 3-pound mess with us. And you can't tell the cop taking the side that you need to open your eye, Jeffrey. You take on the eye. But that range demands some sort of satisfaction. Jeffrey did not speak about these officers in that tone of voice, and did not speak about that either. Now it's pretty obvious that you 2 aren't happy here. Now that you miss your own home, but starting fighting in the street isn't going to change anything, Jeff Munner snapped back. Listen, boy, you are lucky you know the parents want to press charges. This will be reported as simple as discovery between teenagers. But be advised, you are both unnoticed. This is a quiet town not like New Orleans. We don't tolerate this sort of behavior over here. You see Randy Keith, Tor? I highly suggest you tell them you are sorry. We'll keep an eye on both of you, so if this happen again, you don't want that arrest record, do you? Just felt his anger bubble, or he cannot hold his tongue. Who is he, your officer Wilson? Is Randy your nephew? Is he your friend's son? Or maybe you go over and screw his mom while you're on duty? Which one is it, officer? Said, both of you go to your room, Matt Wood, and apparently found that he wasn't mute after all. As he ordered some in the room, Jeff and Lou wanted to stare happily. They refused to hang their heads in shame or any regret. Neither of their parents spoke to them for the rest of the day. Jeff and Lou stayed upstairs, venting their shared frustration to each other. They've been screwed over. Even at this young age, they knew that they took some solace in the fact they aren't even at least been arrested or seated, but still they saw what was really going on here.
That cop. He was protecting Randy, Jeff whispered to his younger brother. No crap, his brother replied. We have to watch ourselves. We have to take care of each other. You saw it down there. Even our parents didn't stand for us. What? I on your Instagram. Yeah. What the heck was up with that? Lou asked. Imagine their image. That's what's up with it. All they care about is fitting in here. They want to make sure that they blend in with the rest of the Stepford families. No more fighting. If we see Randy and his 2 dickhead friends again, we just walk away. Okay? But Jeff, you can kick kick the crap out of them, why would we walk away? Because I can't kick the crap out of the cops, Lou. I can't kick the crap out of the mom and dad. And that's what would get us. Randy and his pals are protected here. You and me, we're not. So we see them, just avoid them, okay, please? Lou nodded. I feel like a little wussy though. I owe Keith for hitting me. No, you don't. I paid him back for that. And paid his fat friend too. Oh, they just leave us alone for now. Jeff sighed. Jeff and Lou didn't hear from their parents for the rest of the day. They remained in their rooms into the night, and family came down to eat after they sure their folks had gone to bed. Lou said they felt relieved about that, but Jeff had a sinking feeling that the worst is yet to come. Jeff was correct the next morning. When the two brothers came downstairs together to eat breakfast, their parents were already sitting at the dining room table, staring at the boys, ruin of nothing they saw. Sit down, Matt said flatly. What's going on? Sit down. Matt stated again, anger dancing in his words. The boys complied without further question. Whatever that was yesterday, beating up some kids for touching your bikes, mouthing on the police, disrespecting both me, your mother, that stops today. We didn't beat anyone up for touching our bikes. Shut up, Jeff. This is one-way conversation. This kid, Randy Hayden, his father is a partner of my firm. Did you know that? Did you even think about that when you're assaulting him over your godforsaken bike? You just didn't think, did you, Jeff? How could I have known that? Well, I've spent the entire morning talking to his father on the phone. His dad is willing to let it all go. But son, I have to deal with that at work today. Do you have any idea how much damage that could have done to me, to our family? Jeff felt that rage come back and fought with all his might to keep this stifled. Instead, he once more tried to appeal to adults' parental side. Mom, look at Lou's face. They split his lip. You can't see. Can't you see? It's swollen. Lou turned his head and better showcased his injury. My God, Jeff. So some kid played a little rough with your brother? Is that any reason to find him? I wanted to make friends with some other families in the neighborhood, but thanks to you, I just don't know. No sooner could Jeff or his brother construct a proper defense than their father began speaking again. So, your mother and I have talked this through. Since there are only a couple of weeks of summer vacation left, we decided that Lou should spend the rest of the season at Aunt Mercy's place. We've already spoken to her, and she's willing to let them come out there and stay. Both Jeff and Lou were floored by this decision. Both boys began to protest at the same time, but they saw the look on their parents' face. The decision was made. Why can't we both just go then? Jeff asked a last effort to get away from his parents. Marcy doesn't want both of you there. She says you two are too rambunctious, and frankly we agree. Julia answered.
And so it was Lou was shut off to his aunt place at NBC Spring, Louisiana, a place even smaller and duller man, Maniville, if one believed that Jeff wanted his brother to leave, then walked back to his bedroom. He felt that rage, however, it began to feel almost pleasant to him. He couldn't explain it, he was fierce at this turn of event. Perry had turned back on his own children. However, through all these new felonies, he was experienced weren't all terrible. His anger, for example, he could almost taste it, like thick, sweet syrup stirring around him. Of course, he knew the extra ingredient that would complete the flavor. That sediment joy he felt when he had Randy and spread on the rope with their pride, mixing perfectly with the anger to create some intoxicating product that Jeff almost craved now. He fell asleep laying on his bed thinking about that syrup, that thick, just that seems to work its way into the very fabric of his soul. He wanted it, yet he knew that it was destruction, and that nothing good could come from sampling it again. Several days passed. The tension were both high between Jeff and his parents. While Lou around, there was nothing to him to do except sit in his room and play video game. He went outside, but then adventure far from home. He knew if ran into school door again, it would likely result in another fight. For a few days, that worked well, and Jeff believed he could get through this. However, his mother changed all that on an early Saturday morning. Jeff was awoken suddenly by sharp sunlight striking his face. He heard his mother humming something she really did, even in his half-sleeping state. He knew that humming was forced. He was doing it to wake him up. Figured the added sunlight would get things to even faster. When she noticed Jeff eye cracking open, she sat off his bed and began speaking in a tone that Zeppelin O's face drowsily. At first, Jeff had refused. Could his mother be serious? Did really expect him to go over and make friends with Randy? He was still in bed with his mother stood her instead humming long enough to tell him to get up and dress. Once he learned why, he heard no, waiting. Hell, however, his mother was a strong manipulator, and she was heavily, but she get the job done. She promised Jeff that it did this for her. Went over and made work with Randy, that Lou could come home the next day. She sandbagged Jeff right in the corner with that one. He no choice but to agree. A short time later, Jeff and his brother was pulling into Randy Drive. Randy's mother outside the door. Hi, you must be Jeff, she greeted. Jeff smiled finally and confirming that was in fact who he was. Hello, I'm Shirley Wood. Hey, it's finally meet you in person. Jeff mother I know, breaking past her son and steady hand to Randy man. Yeah, so pleased to meet you. I'm Reggie here. Sorry to hear that boy have a little mishap the other day. You know how it's tough with teenager. Laura's going crazy and all. We're never getting the fight. He smiles to me, Jeff and his brother still there. Quite slow how we do things in Melbourne. Yet, isn't that right, Jeff? Jeff couldn't resent with a small Jeff. Yeah, sorry about that, Miss Lee. You and Lou had no idea what's going on for your son and his friend. That's why I fight when I asked him. Richard, he gets that Malfoy and Paul never knew how to shut up. How about you and go and have some coffee? And you can tell me the great closet around Manaville while our boy get to know each other the right way. Randy in his room, Jeff upstairs, second door to the left. I'm sure you'll hear the sound of the video game or something, Bridget stated with very humorous tone. Thank you, Mom, Jen. As they entered the house, Jeff nodded her, Randy answered with, come in. Hey, so I guess you heard our parents want to hang out and get to know each other, Jeff stated with a low conviction. Yeah, that's my mom, right? She doesn't like Jeff. Honestly, I won't worry too much. I mean, I'm cool if you're cool. Jeff sat down on the floor next to Randy and struck cautiously. So turn out, your dad's my dad boss. He freaked out about the fight in the parking lot. You actually worry about he get fired or something. My dad's like everyone boss. I freaking hated it. I hate to have kid at my school. Talk to me because the parents somehow connected my dad for him. Why do you hate it? Jeff asked. Because it's fate. This won't downtown is fate. You'll figure it out as you go. Trust me, everyone who lives here is trying to pretend there's something else. My parents made me do all this shit, all the trouble and stuff, so just so they can brag, that's it. Just Ma, I know how you feel. My dad had me in boxing in class here. Because some coworker and his little brother that wanted to play something. As soon as that guy quit, I was out at gym next week. Wish it was that easy, Randy responded. I hate playing baseball, but my dad will have to meet out here again next summer. In the summer afterward, it's like knows I hate it, but wants to make sure I'm out there with his stupid company in the back of my jersey. Randy, why did your friend work with our bike the other day? I tell you, this town's fake and boring as shit. There's nothing to do here. You have to find stuff to do. I mean, there's only so many things you can go and hang out. Video store, right dirt path in the wood, all the girl here stuck up, all the store clothing. There's no mall theater. Is God, we just bored man. So sorry for that again. Cool, Jeff. But I guess I'm sorry too. Things went too far. You mean a fight? Randy asked. She was Yeti cool. Those cool keep and Troy just leech on it because my dad's like I told you. Pretty sure their parents made them hang out with me. The afternoon went on, and Jeff forgot that this mandatory agreement. He eventually started to find himself liking Randy sure. Then first the counter with a little sketchy, but he was coming around to guy, finding that he wasn't too bad once his idiot friend reviewed for the equation. Well, not really. Things took a new turn. Jeff heard a twin pot or two car door shooting in there, and then heard the engine start up. He jumped the game control and pair out of Randy back room window, just in time to see his mother and Randy mother back out of the driveway.
My parents are leaving? Jeff said. About time. I figured my mom would eventually talk to your mom into going shopping or going to get coffee or something like that. Jeff heard Randy pause the game. Hey Jeff, come downstairs. I want to show you some cool stuff. Randy invited and Jeff followed. Randy led Jeff out to the garage. It was hot in there and the main door was shut. The garage was well kept, though, and Jeff observed stacks of magazines underneath a workbench, as well as tools and various other utility items stacked about. Standing in the small, closed-in garage with the late summer heat lingering about, Jeff began to feel a bit uneasy, despite the fact that he and Randy seemed to bond over the last few hours. Jeff couldn't ignore a sense that they were different now, that the adults were gone. What did you want to show me? Hold on, let me get it. Randy replied, moving the magazine and revealed a red, smaller box. Check it out, my dad's flare gun. Randy announced and raised the red two-wheeler gun about. Whoa, be careful with that. Jeff shouted, more out of shock than real concern. It's fine, dude. Don't be a wussy. It's not even loaded. That's what they all say. Randy said, however. Jeff watched as he fished one of the flares out of his back compartment. Randy then continued to fiddle with the flare gun, pop it, open it, and load the flare. Now it's loaded. My dad showed me how to use it last year when we went out boating. Sometimes I take it out back and shoot flares in the trees, but maybe this time I won't need a tree. The change in Randy's voice and demeanor was impossible to ignore. Okay, well, cool. Well, cool gun. Let's get back to the house and on here. I'm getting hungry. What do you have to eat? However, as Jeff turned to walk through the small door, leaned back into the house, the path was suddenly blocked with two warm, familiar faces. Where are you going, Jeffrey? The fat kid, Troy, blurted out as he stepped forward into the garage. Took you too long enough to get here. I had to babysit this person all day. Randy shouted, a wicked joy was present in his mouth. Sorry, Randy, but Keith here had to mow in front of the yard before his parents would let him come out. Troy said, a sheepish tone in his voice. It's cool, we're here now. What in the world is going on? Jeff asked, staring at Randy. He noticed that Randy still had the flare gun in his hands. I'll tell you what's going on. You owe Keith and Troy an apology for what you did. You sucker punched them and then ran away. You didn't even have the balls to fight them fair. So now, you're going to pay them what you owe. I'm not going to fight you, okay? I'm done with that, Jeff replied as he glanced about the room for an exit. You're right about that. You're not going to fight. You're going to stand and let my boys get their licks in. Then I get mine, and when that's done, you get out of my house. I'll tell my mom you got sick and walked home. And after that, you see us again, you better walk the other way. I'm not going to stand here and get hit by you or your friends. So just let me go home. How about that? I'll tell my mom we're cool and everyone wins, okay? Randy then raised the fire gun towards Jeff. No, you stay, wussy. You stay and take your licks. Jeff felt that sensation once more, that sick, rich, dark matter that swirled about inside him. He could taste it now. It was in heaven. It was heaven. In his mind, he imagined diving into it, swimming in it, letting it swallow him whole. He looked around, and the sensation only grew. He saw Randy standing there holding the flare gun. There was a limp in his hands, though, and the hammer was not cocked back. Jeff knew that Randy had no intention of firing it. He looked over at Keith, skinny and pathetic, the kid born to follow. Troy, fat and sweaty, breathing a bit heavy from his walkover. Of course, in the middle of all of it, Jeff himself. He felt that pleasure begin to mix with rage, forming the perfect product. He tried to avoid sampling it. He knew the only regret it could come from indulging in it. However, when it was placed so close, when the aroma and the promise was of that sweet, savory flavor was only inches away, Jeff found that he could no more stand against it than a ship in the ocean could stand against a typhoon. Jeff began to smile. Why are you smiling at me? You queer for me for something? Randy asked, a slight nervous tinge in his voice. Am I smiling, Randy? I guess it's because I'm having so much fun. Jeff announced and suddenly lunged towards the unprepared kid holding the flare gun. Jeff struck Randy once in the nose. Randy's arms dropped. Yet he could kept hold of the flare gun. Jeff, without even needing to look, realized that Troy and Keith actually taken a step back. Instead of advancing as they should, Jeff delivered another strong blow to Randy's jaw, causing the boy to drop to the floor. Jeff now turned his attention to Troy and Keith, the two tough kids that had yet to actually make so much as a move into this direction. Troy actually backed up a step and stumbled over the stack of magazines that Randy had moved earlier. Jeff took this opportunity and stepped forward. Once again, Troy's round belly is to his fist. Troy tried to stay on his feet, but Jeff's punches combined with a stumble over the magazine caused Troy to fall back, landing hard and striking his head on the concrete slab that was the garage floor. Keith was actually trying to back away, however. Jeff was currently standing between him and the only exit to the garage. Since the carport door was closed, Jeff took two quick swipes towards the skinny kid. It felt the most intense joy at seeing Keith stagger backwards, knocking his back into the wall. That perfect blend of pleasure, control, and rage had come together. Jeff felt as though he was floating above the world. Somewhere in his mind, he knew there would be hell to pay for this. But that exact moment in time, he couldn't care less. He didn't care about Lou. He didn't care about being arrested. And he didn't care if his dad got fired. All he cared about in that extra time was hurting Keith. Keith trying to make a run for it, hoping to squeeze through the small gap between Jeff and the door. However, Jeff clipped him a hard right hand to his face, causing Keith to stagger back again. Jeff could see that his knees were buckling and took full advantage. He moved in, pinning Keith to the wall, and began to deliver blow after blow to the skinny kid's stomach. Keith's eyes became as large as saucers. Once satisfied, Jeff stepped back and watched a demonic glee as Keith slowly slid down to the wall, gasping for air. Randy got back to his feet, but seemed to have no idea what to do. We done now, Randy? We good? Or do you want you and your friends need more? No more, we're cool. What about you? What about you people? It was Randy's idea. Yeah, man, we didn't even want to. This debate may have continued, but the sound of a returning car broke the tension. Oh crap, my mom's back. Randy shouted, his voice cracking in a humorous way. It seemed that the bruised tough guy has all but shrunk back to a scared child. So we'll just say we're all hanging out, Keith replied. No, the flare gun. If she finds out I mess with it, I'm screwed. So put it back, Jeff suggested. That sensation range was fading again, and he felt control returning. Yeah, grab the magazines, please, Randy begged. Jeff found that he rather liked the tone, the banging, the whipped dog mentality. Jeff was paying no attention to Randy, who was down on the floor, calmly gathering the magazines. He didn't really care if Randy got in trouble or not. However, if his mother returned and found trouble, he feared that Lou may not return his home as he promised. Everything else happened in a flash, both flirtily and furiously.
And now I'm panicked over the trouble he is. If he was caught by playing with a flare gun, he has begun to sweat. As his friend frantically crawled with the gun, his thumb punched the hammer back. Intentionally, he didn't even know that the gun was clock or cook. He was turning it over in his hand, trying to quickly disarm it. He didn't hear the sound of key in the front door, and he knew that he only had a second now to hide it. Everything else happened in slow motion. That guy slipped from Randy's sweaty hand as he attempted to rotate it once more. He saw it fell on the floor, seemingly to float on the ground after the fall. Jeff, busy stacking the magazine, had only enough time to register Randy. Yeah, he turned back to look in the boy's direction, just in time to see the bright red flare gun hit the floor. The gun discharged and cleared, speeding a ball firing directly into Jeff's face. Jeff felt the hot flash of heat and pain across the left side of his face. After an internal register of agony, there was no more thinking. Jeff began to scream, clutching the left side of the fan, rolling around the floor. For a while, he forgot everything as he would plug into the dark, wrist cigarette once more. The rage almost surged total pain. He finally did come to a stable alertness. He realized he was in a hospital room. Half her face was bandaged. He knew that much. He wanted to open his eyes, speak, but his family was awake. The dress still had a firm hold. He was awake, but not quite yet functioning. He could hear severe, familiar voice though. Going to be okay, Doctor? Jeff mother asked. Oh yeah, Mom. Your son will be fine. However, he was legally wrote to recover when needed support. The flash stuck in his face and caught a 30-degree burn on the left side. How bad is his thigh? Jeff asked. Hard to say at this point. He'll need to see an optimist for a further review, but the damage appeared quite severe. And his face? What about his face? Jeff mother asked, sounding deeply concerned. Well, we were ready to clean the injury in time, so you consider no infection or anything that matter. Well, while he might antibiotic for a while, we need to have the wound clean and checked on a regular basis. But in all of this, your son got very lucky. The damage could have been more severe. Doctor, his mother began. What if there's permanent damage? What do we do about that? I said, an optometrist will have examined the eye. Julia Wood interrupted the door, sounding more ecstasy than before. You're not listening to the eye's face. What do you do with Craig's face? She demanded. Well, Mom, we'll treat his face, like say. I should be a person of infection as long as you just cut him off again. Not that infection is the parent. What can you do for that? Missy Wood and that hardly concerned at this point. Once he held back on his feet, you can possibly explore plastic surgery to prove some of the damage, but honestly, right now, we can't waste concern how he look. What is point is that your son is healthy, he can expect to be back home in a few days, maybe soon. Dad then spoke in. Okay, thank you, doctor. Give me some time alone. My wife and I need to speak. Certainly, the doctor replied. Lou, why don't you go down to the hospital cafeteria and get yourself a snack? Matt first suggested. But I don't want to be here in case Jeff wake up, Lou replied. Lou, they told us that Jeff is heavily medical. We don't expect to wake up anytime soon. Just go if he goes around, we'll have you paged, Matt replied. Striking the door open and closed at Lou's sight. His both parents lay out a long shaky sign, but Jeff was starting to believe it was not a sign of relief, but rather of stress. We're going to have some homeschool now Matt said there's what's going to be. We're going to have to keep him home. His mother is home ran, her voice sounding frantic. What? I mean, he probably won't be able to start school right on time. I doubt he'll miss a whole year, his father responded, trying to maintain a calmer voice. I'm not talking about that, Matt. I'm not worried about him missing a week or two. I mean, his face, Matt. You heard what you say, his face is gonna be disfigured, Celia argued back. You don't really know the full extent of the damage yet, Celia. It could be minor, it could be positive. Hell, you heard what he said. Plastic surgery could be an option in time. In time? What kind of time? A year? 2 years? What about the meantime? People are trying to see. You're going to talk. Is that what you want? He's going to be a brat. Do you think you're going to want to have him around their kid? As Jeff was having all this getting so slowly as his mind absorbed the word. He felt the rage return, sick, rich, dark, that sort of raw, primal emotion. He wanted to scream at his mother, tell her to shut up. He was only there, half his face burnt, blind one eye, all things to her. Forced him to go over Randy's house. He wanted to ask her why she left, why she didn't want to go shopping. After her nail done, whatever it is that she did, he wanted to know why she had been alone with a kid, which is the day before he tried to jump him and his brother. He wanted to know how she could care more about his pairing, the fact that he was lying in the hospital. However, there was much more that he wanted to know as well. He wanted to know how much his mother hated him, or how much she saw her as a how did he put in her. He wanted to continue to sweat a thick pool of dark hatred that was starting to form from the rage and anger through the new one now. Before it was anger. It was his anger mixed with pleasure. Now it was anger mixed with hatred, and while he certainly longed to be free of it, he most certainly for a false sense of love concern. He believed that he heard from her before. He also wanted to test it. Matt Wood began to speak, and I just can't believe he shot his son in the face with a flood. I always thought Jeff was more responsible than that. Don't even get me started on that, she replied. I couldn't believe it's when Randy, his friend, explained to the medic and police how it all happened. Just trying to show Jeff around how he wanted to show the collection of magazines that came in the crowd. You know, boys, he was probably just hoping that a couple of Playboy could be in something he said. Jeff found the bug and continued to flare. They just wouldn't stop playing around. You should have heard the other boy, man. They should have told. They practically begged Jeff to just put it down before he got hurt. But he just had to show off. I just don't know where he went wrong, man. I thought moving out here just nice, clear neighborhood would make everyone happy. Jeff thought he just went to fight on empty. And he finally, and while he all that came together in Jeff's mind, he continued to swing that bad archer hatred ring. Microphone Jeff added a nice touch wherever Jeff could almost see himself playing the stifling water hatred, making shade. Each Jeff brought so much twisted pleasure in that when he finally understood he could just sample the pleasure now, not because he was enjoying what was happening, because he knew he would enjoy what was to come. Just as the doctor had predicted, Jeff was scheduled to go home a few days later. During his time in the hospital, he never asked to see if it was until the last day that he finally asked for Impera. The nurse had come in and changed the banner as was the routine. She was a pleasant one. She spoke to him and asked how he's going. He enjoyed her visit. So, final day when she arrived, clean dressed his face, he asked to see himself.
Hey there, sweetheart. Would you like me to call your parents first? No, thank you. I think I want to see it for myself first, without them standing over for me. I understand, Jane replied honestly, without a hint of pretension. Once the bandages were off, she handed him a small hand mirror. Would you like me to step out of the room? Jeff ignored her and looked at himself, thinking his stock of the damage. Sure enough, his face was a mess. Right left side of it, at least. The flare struck him traveling upwards. The burn scarred his left cheek that extended to his eye. At first glance, it almost looked like he was smiling on the left side. The scar was almost still bright red, and burnt tissue spread out to the other side. Once it arrived to his eye, the dude did not get any better. His eye was white, just a lifeless bulb plunged into his face. He closed his right eye and found that he could see nothing from his left eye at all. The scar continued up the left side of his forehead. The damage was less severe there, however. The hair on the left side was burned off, leaving a few strands to stick up here and there. Sorry, sweetie, but I have to put the clean bandages on. It's okay, there will be plenty of time for me to admire myself later. There was no joy from his parents on the ride home, or upon arrival. They spoke very little, and there was tension in the car that simply wouldn't fade out. As for Lou, he was thrilled that his brother was okay, but he didn't know what to say concerning the damage to his face. So after asking a few questions about the accident and recovery, he fell silent as well. They walked into their home at dusk. Lou asked about dinner. He suggested that he had let Jeff pick a place to celebrate his home return. Just go to sleep, both of you boys. Go to sleep, Sheila remarked. She and her husband both retreated to their bedrooms as well. They argued to feel sorry about themselves. Who knew? Jeff and Lou didn't speak much. Jeff spent most of the night staring at himself in the mirror. He kept pulling down the bandages and looking at the scars. Lou wanted to see him, but thought it might be too imprudent to ask. Glad you're home, Jeff. I really missed you. I'm glad you're okay. I'm not okay, Lou. And neither are you. None of us are. There's sickness here. The only difference is, now my sickness shows on the outside as well. What are you talking about? One day you'll see. This is what happens, though. This is what happens when it all falls down. Jeff, I don't know what you're trying to say. Jeff didn't reply, though, and several moments later, Lou left him alone. Lou went down to his parents' bedroom and knocked on the door. What is it? It was his mother asked. Mom, I think Jeff is acting weird. Come talk. You may want to come talk to him. Go away, Lou. Leave your mother alone. His father's voice answered. Lou, being young and had no other ideas, so he returned to his own bedroom. He didn't know what those two would be the last words he ever hear his parents speak to him. That night, Sheila and Matt woke together. Both being light sleepers, it took a little to bring them out of slumber. Beside the removal of their blanket, as it was snatched from the bed, did the trick just fine. They woke to a small light coming from the half bath that was situated in the master bedroom. The door was cracked only slightly. The light was weak. You could make out a human shape standing over the bed. What's going on? As their vision came to focus, they realized their son was standing before them. Matt reached over and flipped the lamp onto the bed. Jeff was standing there, the bandages off, his disfigured face beating down on them, a long kitchen knife clutched in his right hand. What are you doing, son? He's got a knife, Sheila screamed, grabbing her husband's arm. Matt kept his composure, though. Sheila, it's probably the painkillers. He's likely got him disoriented. Relax, for Christ's sake. Jeff tilted his head to one side. Still not speaking. He stared hard at his father, slowly bringing up the knife, ensuring that he saw it well. Son, what are you doing? Scaring you? Matt, do something. Okay, son, I realize you went through a lot, but I need you to go back to bed. I'm going to call a doctor and money again. Jeff moved quickly across to his father's side of the bed, his head moving about, alternating between a normal-looking young man and deformed ghoul that had been lurking in the shadows. Okay, son, you scared me. Is that what you wanted? Good. Now I can start hurting you. His father had no time to utter a single syllable. Most likely to ask another question and try to reason with Jeff. However, Jeff gave him time to do no more than that. Oh my god. He lunged onto his bed, driving the knife in his father's stomach. Matt attempted to fend off Jeff off, but he would wound to his midsection, rendering him in shock, and his arms fell aside. Jeff could hear his mother scream and paid no mind. He wanted to finish his father first. Moving the knife, Jeff stabbed down into his stomach 3 more times. His father gasped and coughed up blood. His body jerked and twitched each time the knife found its mark. But the 3rd time, Matt was laid still. Removing the knife, Jeff stabbed down to his stomach. Oh shit. Julia had backed up against the headboard of the bed. She wanted to climb down, make a run for it, but she balled herself up between the headboard and the end table. In a frantic state of terror and confusion, she couldn't figure out how to do something as simple as lift him out of bed. Jeff, why are you doing this? Granny started. You must have known that. But you ignored it. Lude had a busted lip. You must have seen that, but you ignored it. I was shot in the face with a flare gun, but you believed Randy. Why? So you could fit in? No, baby, I believed you. It was just your father's job. And we're new here, and oh god, Jeff, please.
Tell me about homeschool, Mom. Tell me about how you don't want me to sit out in public because of my kid. Tell me how none of the other kids wanted to be my friend. And how come none of their parents wanted to be here. Tell me about the mom. Tell me how nice it's going to be you homeschooling me. Jeff, please. I was just stressed. I was worried about you, that all. Please. I love you. Mom, I think you should take your own advice. You know that you told Lou that we get home tonight. You wanted to do something nice. To welcome me home. And do you remember what you told us to do instead? Jeff asked. How he crawled over cornering his mother on the bed. What did I say? She asked the question, come out barely a whisper. Go sleep. Jeff snared it and drove the knife into the mother's chest. He stabbed her over and over again as he did. He finally found that perfect recipe, that heavenly blade, that rage, hate, pleasure, all mixed with the perfect formula. And for a while, Jeff became lost in awe. Jeff opened his brother's bedroom, not surprised to find his brother asleep. He had dozed off with his head in, so he slept through all that shouting. That was fine with Jeff. Would eat that Luke and not hear all that. Sat down in his brother's bed, snatching slightly to him on, but Luke finally opened his eye and looked up. Jeff removed his hairpin. You're free now, Luke. He spoke softly. Jeff, what are you talking about? Luke mum was still half asleep. You'll see in the morning. I just want to let you know. I love you. You're my best friend. Remember that, okay? I love you too. Now let's go back to sleep. Luke replied, I already dozed off again. Then smiled, stood up as he left the room and looked back at his sleeping brother one last time before he vanished into the night.
Alrighty. That was Jeff the Killer. Still had the
Hello,
same.
guys.
Still had the same story, but kind of different at the same time.
A bad story. I like it. Just the ending. He just vanished. What? Really? Why?
He didn't kill Lou this time.
Why? Really? Killed the mother though.
Yeah, he still killed the parents.
I
He
won't
didn't
do
kill
that.
any bullies either.
Pretty interesting. So you think the original one's better?
I think this is a little more well written than the original. The original one's
More.
kind of outdated.
I see. So this one's a little better. So that's Jeff the Killer reboot. That's a pretty good story. I actually pretty enjoy. Let's get it.
You guys know what to do. Subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a like down below, leave a comment on what you want us to do next, or react to, or read. Meme face? Just kidding.
That was